Thank you everyone for joining. We're going to start in a few minutes. Just let everyone to gather in. Just a reminder, if you have any questions, please send them through the chat and you can visit healbeirut.com. 100% of the donations today will be going to St. Jude Hope and Heritage Foundation. So feel free to do it throughout the webinar as well. Can actually go ahead and start. I see a good amount of people already in. So thanks again for joining, everybody. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. My name is Mark Ayub, and I'm a neurocritical care physician in New York. I'm one of the co-founders of Heal Beirut, and I'm also proudly Lebanese. Heal Beirut was founded in 2020 in the aftermath of the Beirut port explosion, during a time when Lebanon's healthcare system was under extraordinary strain. Our mission has been to connect physicians around the world with patients in Lebanon and help expand access to specialized care, regardless of geography. Today's conversation is deeply meaningful because it represents something powerful: the connection between St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, Lebanon, and institutions like the American University of Beirut Children's Hospital, which is affiliated with St. Jude and shares in its mission of advancing pediatric cancer care. St. Jude was founded on a simple but profound principle: that no child should die in the dawn of life. Through ALSAC and initiatives like Hope and Heritage Foundation, St. Jude has built a global community committed to advancing research, improving treatment, and ensuring access to care for children everywhere. The Hope and Heritage Initiative is especially meaningful as it honors the legacy of Danny Thomas and the deep and lasting contributions of the Lebanese and Middle Eastern community to St. Jude's mission. Importantly, 100% of today's donations from this initiative go directly towards supporting this life-saving work. We are honored to be joined today by an extraordinary group of speakers: Jennifer Saad, who will share her personal journey as a patient; George Delinos, founding member of the St. Jude Hope and Heritage Gala; Elise Midhij, event chair of Hope and Heritage Gala; Dr. Raya Saab, pediatric oncology section chief at Stanford Children's Hospital, former St. Jude fellow, and former oncologist at the American University of Beirut Children's Hospital; and Dr. Georgina Aoun, president of the U.S. chapter of the International Lebanese Medical Association, also known as ILMA. Each of them brings a unique and important perspective to this conversation. I'd like to begin by inviting Jennifer Saad to share her story. Jennifer, thank you for being here, and thank you for your courage in sharing your experience. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having me as a guest speaker. My name is Jennifer Saad. I am Lebanese, and today I'm here with you to share my story as a cancer patient. A month ago, I had a surgery, just a normal surgery to have an intracoronal polyp removed. And a few days later, the doctor contacted me to give me the result of the pathology. I immediately knew that something was wrong with the result. When I arrived to the doctor's clinic, we sat, and he was very sad to inform me that I was diagnosed with rhabdomyosarcoma. When I heard that, I didn't even understand what it really meant. I was shocked, but I really didn't know what rhabdomyosarcoma was. It was something I never heard of. So he explained to me that it's a rare and aggressive type of cancer that they usually see with children, not with people my age. After that, I left his clinic and didn't know what to do next. I tried to call some oncologists, but to understand better my situation and my diagnosis, but they all looked at me the same way I looked at the doctors when he told me rhabdomyosarcoma. They also didn't know much about this disease because they also didn't face such cases here in Lebanon, since it's very rare and the population is small here, especially since such cancers are usually faced with children and with pediatric oncologists. So I was very scared, and cancer was not the reason of my fear. Uncertainty and doubtfulness were. So I decided to seek international medical care to try to find similar cases where we have a bigger population, such as the States. And this is when I decided to call Heal Beirut. Heal Beirut is a nonprofit organization that provides telehealth services and medical support for Lebanese patients like me that are looking for some sort of guidance. So they guided me through the protocol and verified my protocol every step of the way. And they also linked me with medical expert and gave me second opinion on my case, which gave me some sort of reassurance. Now I'm taking my treatment at AUBMC. And because it's rare, and as I previously mentioned, kids usually face such type of cancer. AUBMC was also in contact with St. Jude Research Hospital, since they are affiliated, to also confirm the protocol with the pediatric oncologist. So I would also like to thank as well St. Jude for the work and research they do to improve the pediatric cancer care, especially in countries like Lebanon, where sometimes we need some accessible channels for low and middle income people and families. Finally, I would like to thank as well AUBMC for all the care they're giving for all the patients. They have excellent doctors, excellent nurses, and they take care of every single patient as if it was a family. I now have more clarity on my case, and I can confidently say that I will overcome this because I know I'm taking the best possible treatment. This experience taught me resilience, gratitude, but most importantly, it taught me to have right support channels. Finally, thank you very much for every single person listening to me. I really hope such organizations will keep going and doing what they do for all of us, because you never know when you will need them. I hope you will not, but you never know when you will be in my shoes. And I hope I inspire the other patients as well going through the same challenges. So thank you.
Thank you, Jenny, for sharing, for your strength and courage. And you have a community standing behind you through the Ilma organization, through St. Jude's, and then also with Heal Beirut. So thank you so much for joining us today. And your story reminds us exactly why this work matters. I'd now like to invite George Jalinos, the founding member of St. Jude Hope and Heritage Gala, to share how his initiative began and what it represents. George, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mark. This is an amazing gathering of people, and I thank you for putting it together, you and your brother Noel. I know Noel's out in the West Coast. Thank you both for doing this. Also, to this incredible panel of people, Raya and Jennifer, and of course, Georgina, Elise. All of you have done incredible work toward this great project and mission. So, I mean, essentially, I'm just a messenger and a witness here. I mean, I since I was a kid, so I grew up with St. Jude as being part of our charitable consciousness. And it was at the time that Danny was really going out to all of the Syrian and Lebanese communities, primarily that we were mostly Syrian Lebanese, but of course we had Palestinians and Jordanians and almost every group from Arab American heritage that he would go out to around the country to raise the initial funds to build a hospital. And we were all fascinated by this because this was a guy who was very well known on TV. He always wore his heritage proudly. He made it very clear in his his in his comedy shows and everything that he was Lebanese, and he had an Uncle Tanus, and this was something that we were very proud of. We we didn't know how to react, but it gave us a great sense of both pride of our identity, and also because he was associated with this very important charity. And he used to go around with ideas and philosophies and sayings that he got from Khalil Gibran. Like he who denies his heritage has no heritage. that no child should die in the dawn of life. He was so committed to it that if you go down to the St. Jude campus now at the Alsac Pavilion, you'll see that in Arabic writing and English writing on the dome in the center of the pavilion. So, having had this in my background for such a long time, and of course, it being the very special charities to my uncles, my aunts, my mom, especially my father, uh, I was sort of a supporter, but I decided in 2012, and in collaboration with my dear brothers of the Salam Club, that we should do something significant that year because it was the 50th anniversary of St. Jude, and nothing had been planned in the New York area. What had really we realized is that that whole identity connection between ALSAC, the American Lebanese Syrian Associated Charities, and St. Jude, which was continuing, had fallen into the background in the New York tri-state area, and we felt we wanted to do something about that, especially as a Celeb Club is a very much a fraternity of men of heritage. So we approached St. Jude in New York, and we told them what we wanted to do, and they were surprised. They were delighted, and after really quite a struggle in the beginning to try to create this consciousness, we went and we approached people in the community to join us as in this celebration as initially as a Lamb Club event in 2012. We approached very big people in our community who have had the honor of being recognized in various fields like medicine, and in finance, Mona Abu Naga from the Arab Bankers Association, Dr. Laith Jazrawi from the medical community, and we put this gala together, and it was a huge success. We anticipated a $50,000 raise. We wound up raising 200,000. This got the attention of St. Jude in Memphis, and 2 years later, with the committee that was formed, both of people from the original gala as well as others, we created the Hope and Heritage Committee. We gave it that name because we think that invokes exactly what we hope to achieve by this brand of giving to St. Jude, by associating our identity and our heritage to the values that created this beautiful charity, and we have grown ever since. And we created the first Hope and Heritage St. Jude Gala in 2014, and we've been continuing ever since to now to the point where we have now our great gala happening at Cipriani Wall Street on April 25th, 2026. I can go on, but I think we have to hear from a lot of the other great people on our panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. It's incredibly inspiring to see how this initiative has grown and brought the whole community together on such an important mission. Next, I'd like to invite Elise Merhej, event chair of the Hope and Heritage Gala. And Elise, thank you for being here.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for putting this together and for all of the love and heart that's in this room with us right now. So we all appreciate the shared vision and mission that we are here to help with kids and people who are dealing with these tough situations and how we can help make it better. From what I can say about the gala that George just mentioned, we are in our 10th year, and we are constantly finding that the heart that we have for this is palpable around others that we know in the Arab American community, particularly. As we're saying, this really honors the legacy that many of our parents, grandparents, and others have infused in us about this opportunity to really give to others in this charity in this way of helping kids go and their families go through this childhood cancer is rather unique in the idea that it does honor a heritage that many of us connect with. And many people support St. Jude that are not knowing it in that way. But for those of us who do, it's a little bit more personal and driven in terms of what it is that we want to get done. We really feel like we are a family and a team, and we have that great collaboration. So we are really feeling that we're honoring the heritage of our families and supporting this life-saving mission. The gala has historically served as a very important major cultural and philanthropic gathering of like-minded people who come together. And as I've seen, it is people who know St. Jude in different ways, but all share the bond of that. It brings awareness to the mission. Our gala is important in the way that it is definitely fundraising, and we do a lot to serve the community in knowing about this, and people become part of the care for the cause. Proceeds, as you know, are provided to people, their families that come to this hospital because they have not been able to get care at a local or regional facility to deal with the issues that they have. And so St. Jude is a pretty special place that's able to provide these families and their children with the, clinical visits, all the things that we know that they need. And then also help them in terms of the daily things they need, the emotional support. I mean, I really could go on with such a list, but Mark, I don't want to take too much time. But, the other piece of it is that what we know about St. Jude is that it is saving lives. And it is also, because there is that conversation about St. Jude is a place in Memphis. How does that affect me or the community that I know at large? And as we heard from Jenny, and I think as Mark and others know too, it's the cutting edge research and the global impact that it has. It reaches way beyond not just the United States, but other countries too, helping kids, because there are groundbreaking clinical trials that are happening here. And they're transitioning, like translating their lab discoveries into treatments and freely sharing all of this. It is the research that really matters. It's the innovations that contribute to, as we know, varying depending on the case, but in instances that have been cited, from a survival rate of 20 to 80%, depending on what it is. And it is the ongoing fundraising and awareness that brings people together in a way that creates new opportunities that we haven't even tapped into yet. We are in our 10th year here with this gala, and we are really happy with all the people who are interested in coming. And we also appreciate the people who know about it and just want to join and see what else they can do. I mean, we have walks, we have so many ways that people can engage with us. So I could talk more too, but I'll wait to go next if there's more.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the all the work you guys are doing, and honored to be a part of it. And now we are honored to hear from Dr. Leah Saab, who has cared for children across multiple institutions, including St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, Stanford Children's Hospital, and the American University of Beirut Children's Hospital. Dr. Saab brings a truly global perspective on pediatric cancer care. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me to participate in this webinar. It's really great to see the community come together and the planning for events that support the mission really of curing childhood cancers and developing new cures that St. Jude really is the trailblazer for and has been for years. Just to give a little bit of background, I was born and raised in Lebanon, went to medical school there at the American University of Beirut, and went into pediatrics and was directly drawn to pediatric hematology oncology and decided that was going to be the specialty that I wanted to spend the rest of my career focusing on. Interestingly, when I considered training at St. Jude, I did not know about the Lebanese connection. It was primarily because of what was known about St. Jude's trailblazing work, really, in moving forward, even the initial studies in leukemia treatment that formed the foundation of how we treat childhood leukemia today. And the focus on bridging the clinical care, excellent clinical care for kids without consideration for cost of care. So focusing really on getting that child and family from diagnosis to treatment, throughout treatment, and hopefully survivorship as well, giving the best care possible without the doctors or the nurses or anybody who's involved in their care really having to make choices based on reimbursement or based on financials. That was a very attractive to me as a trainee at the time when I was applying there, as well as the fact that focusing on every child who's diagnosed with cancer, not only to treat that child, but also to learn more about the disease and to drive the research forward, to understand better and move that move that science forward so that we can treat more patients better. So that was really the main drive for me as a young trainee in looking at St. Jude for further training. And it wasn't until I interviewed there that I realized the Lebanon connection, which St. Jude is very proud of. And, they discuss that with everybody who's coming to St. Jude, whether as a new employee or a new trainee or a doctor or as part of the philanthropic efforts and the fundraising. And again, as George mentioned, the ALSAC, the pavilion there, is really a testament to the heritage and the connection with the heritage that stays on and really shows in every aspect of the work of ALSAC and St. Jude. So after I finished my training at St. Jude, and again, I think what's really special there is the really very tight connection between the clinical work and the research work, and this just focusing on moving the envelope further and moving the needle forward in childhood cancer care and survivorship care. And then as I was finishing my training, that was around the time that the collaboration between St. Jude and the American University of Beirut in Lebanon was taking form to set up a center in Lebanon that is modeled after St. Jude and Danny Thomas's dream of, no child should die in the dawn of life, and specifically dealing with the barriers to care because of financial means. So the setup of a system similar in Lebanon that is based on fundraising. And that was at that time, AUB was contacting me too regarding the possibility of going back as faculty to Lebanon, and it just came together really beautifully. So I moved back to Lebanon after my training, a couple of years after my training, was faculty at the American University of Beirut for a little bit over a decade. And very importantly, the connection between St. Jude US and Lebanon grew throughout that time with development of multiple programs focused on not only clinical care of children with cancer, but also education, training, and research. And a lot of collaborations were formed during that time, including regional collaborations that really spread beyond even the borders of Lebanon and surrounding countries to the whole Middle East and Asia region. And I can talk loads about that, but what I'm trying to describe is the impact of the work that's done at St. Jude, really across borders and globally. And then over the past 10 years, St. Jude has really lifted that load much, much further to primarily drive the Global Initiative for Childhood Cancer, where along with the WHO, there is a global initiative to increase the cure of children with cancer around the world. 80% of children with cancer live outside of the US and Europe, right? Because that's where the majority of the population is, and cure rates are much lower outside of the current well-developed countries. And over the past 6 years or so, we are now seeing the results of these interventions, whether it is access to medications, access to protocols, unification of clinical approaches to treatment, training of not only doctors, but nurses, improving diagnostics, so really lifting the care of childhood cancer all over the world. And that could not and cannot happen without the efforts and the drive that is led by St. Jude along with the global platform collaborators. And one more thing I wanted to mention is about the importance of these sort of fundraising initiatives on really raising also awareness about the importance of advocating for improved childhood cancer clinical care that can be achieved through even policy, national cancer policies around the world, advocacy groups, and fundraising around the world, so that other countries and other institutions can emulate what has been so successfully done by St. Jude in really moving the needle in a major way to improve childhood cancer cures through philanthropic support. Because as you probably know, the research fund, childhood cancer is such a small proportion of diseases. So the funding for research into childhood cancer from the National Institute of Health or other governmental agencies is extremely low compared to what is actually needed. And this is where institutions like St. Jude really bridge that gap and move it forward so that kids and families can move through this very difficult period in their time, in their life, and hopefully to a good outcome where that child can then grow to contribute to society and enjoy the years that would otherwise have been missed. I hope that wasn't too long. I could talk for ages on St. Jude. I did leave. I mentioned I left Lebanon a few years ago and came to lead the oncology program here at Stanford. But I did not leave St. Jude. I continue to work very closely. We actually I work very closely with the team at St. Jude on development of research infrastructure around the world through this global initiative. And we've actually, every year we have 3 or 4 projects where we are engaging teams from around the world, including the Middle East, Asia, North Africa, in developing expertise in childhood cancer care, in clinical research, so that these advances that are made here in the US and in Europe can be translated to lower resource settings successfully. And there's a lot more to be done, and I'm very excited to continue to be part of it. So once a St. Jude family, you're always St. Jude family.
Thank you so
Excellent.
much.
Wow.
What an incredible story. Sorry, go ahead, George. What an incredible story, and thank you so much again for your leadership, sharing it, and your continued dedication, not only bridging the gap, but also for improving care for children. And finally, I'd like to invite Dr. Georgina Aoun, the president of the U.S. chapter of the International Lebanese Medical Association. Dr. Aoun, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Amazing group of people. Thank you, Mark, for including me. So I just want to tell you a little bit about what we are doing. We started 5 years ago as a network of professionals, healthcare professional in the United States. But soon after we started, the August 4 explosion happened in Lebanon, and then we were asked to do more and more and more since then. What we have found that works best for our healthcare professionals here to support them and to support the healthcare professionals in Lebanon is to focus on supporting the people themselves through education and research. So we have helped many students in Lebanon to apply here for observership, research, education, and we have supported the staff in Lebanon through grand rounds, through webinars, and through support with COVID information research, just like what you guys are doing an amazing job in cancer. Of course, Lebanon has been struggling with economic struggles, and also like the healthcare force has been gradually moving out of Lebanon. So more has been asked from us, and we're happy always to collaborate with the healthcare professionals in Lebanon by supporting the groups that are doing the work on the ground and being there for them. So it has been an amazing experience because we found ourselves a group of now 1,000 professionals in the US supporting each other and supporting the people in Lebanon through supporting their staff. Sometimes we also have gained experience in supporting medication and resources that they might need in their institutions. and creating collaboration with the clinics. So gaining this experience in collaborative work, in reaching outside our own kind of clinics, our own institutions, being global at this point, is definitely rewarding for the people you are serving, but also for yourself, because the knowledge you gain is going to help the people abroad, but also help our professional service here inside the United States, and our professional careers as well. So thank you for all of what you're doing, and we are happy to be part, even a small part of it, and continue to collaborate with you.
Thank
Wonderful
you, Dr.
articulatie.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I've been under your leadership at ILMA for the past few years, and your dedication is remarkable and it's really inspiring. So thank you so much again for joining us today. And thank you for all our panelists. We do have a few questions, and then we can end pretty early today so you can gain some time on your Friday and enjoy the weekend. Dr. Aoun, a question that came in, but how can non-clinicians contribute to ILMA and its efforts abroad?
Yes, the non-clinical work is very important because once we carry a mission, suppose we want to support a clinic in Lebanon, that means supporting the staff through knowledge and maybe even presence, like Heal Beirut, I think, has done several missions in Lebanon. But also you need a lot of resources supporting that mission and that work. So the non-clinical people can be a huge asset to us supporting the clinics in Lebanon.
Thank you for that. And Jenny, during your treatment journey, what did support from physicians and organizations like St. Jude mean to you personally?
Personally, it meant to me hope, safety. It meant to me trust after all the uncertainty I faced during the first few weeks. So it was like the light in the middle of all the darkness. This is in summary.
Thank you for that.
Thanks so much.
And at least we did have a question. How do you balance emotional stories like Jennifer's while also building a sustainable long-term initiative?
Sorry, I see those two things as very connected. I think that it is the heart and the care that the St. Jude community has that creates these opportunities for people to have long-term connection and help with the things that they are going through. St. Jude, because it is often mostly funded by donors, has opportunities to provide services beyond what some other places are able to do. There are long-term care, survivorship, and after-treatment programs that keep people engaged and connected and learning and being able to do things like, therapy clinics, long-time follow-up care, research into where they are and checking back in with them. There's so much of the shared global initiative that people get to be a part of once they are part of, as others have said, this St. Jude community. And so I feel like that idea of the emotional is really all around St. Jude. I mean, when you go to St. Jude and or talk to patients or families, there is such a bond. The treatment is so personal. So long-term, it makes a difference for people to have that kind of St. Jude family that is with them throughout. And on that individual basis, as you walk through the halls and talk to people that are there, as we are blessed to have right now on this panel, you just know that the doctors and the people who are doing this work have such care. So the emotion of it is just part of the way anyone I know who works at St. Jude is with their work and their doctors, physicians, staff who have gone through this experience and are now come back to share and to give. That's what their preferred field of work became. I mean, it is just an incredible community. So I don't think they're different. I think they're the same.
Beautiful.
Thank you for that. And we have two final questions. Dr. Saab, you've worked at St. Jude, Stanford, and the American University of Beirut Children's Hospital. How does pediatric oncology care compare across these different settings, and what can be done to further strengthen care and access for children in Lebanon?
I
Good
would
question.
say, yes. I would say there's definitely excellent clinical care at all three institutions. Pediatric oncology in general is a small specialty, and there's a lot of connectiveness across the professional networks that really reaches every institution. One of the defining aspects of being at St. Jude, I think, and working at St. Jude is the fact that this model of linking philanthropy to clinical care and research so effectively it's not paralleled anywhere else. There's a lot of philanthropy and support that happens at Stanford, but the model at St. Jude is actually, it's built to primarily sustain the clinical and research, the clinical care and the research advances. And this connectivity translates into the discussions that happen in the hallways between the researchers and the clinicians, the fact that the family, once they set foot onto St. Jude campus, they're supported by all aspects of their life so that they don't have to worry about anything else, just focus on getting through the treatment and, on this very difficult time in their child's life. So that setup is quite ideal for both supporting families through these very difficult diagnoses, giving the right treatment at the right time without worrying about insurance denials or, going through all that paperwork and delays to get things approved, or having the family scramble for funds to pay for a particular treatment. You don't have to worry about any of that at St. Jude. You just worry about, what do I need to give this family and this child for the best chances of cure? And then the third thing is the link that is directly made on day one to active research that's happening involving the family in those discussions up front, and utilizing every opportunity, whether it's a biopsy to take the tumor tissue or blood sample, to move that forward into really cutting edge research because of the funding that's there also to supplement other sources to be able to ask the questions that are important, because the funds are available to do that. And again, the fact that all that is built on philanthropic support is just, it's mind-blowing. It's impossible. I mean, it really gives you faith in that, humanity can pour resources for causes that they value and that are priority, irrespective of political affiliations or ethnicity or background, etc. So that is very unique, I think, to St. Jude. The American University of Beirut is an amazing institution. It's really a beacon in the Middle East, not just in Lebanon. The clinical care that's given at the AUB is world standard, top care. My family's all in Lebanon, and I feel very fortunate that there is the American University of Beirut in case they will need medical care. I think that it's an institution that every Lebanese abroad, or actually everybody in the region abroad, needs to make sure they're helping sustain and collaborate with, because it makes a huge difference in the day-to-day life of people we know and love in the region. The care for children with cancer there is there's definitely excellent clinicians, excellent support services. The AUB has systems in place that are at least as good, if not better, than a lot of institutions even here in the US. So definitely something to be very proud of. There remains to be, I think, the biggest issue is the political instability, the financial instability, the external factors that continue to threaten the sustainability of all the efforts that are made to move things forward in Lebanon. And this is where I think the community at large, the international community at large, can help support and bolster, like Heal Beirut and Ilma and others, and that can be really life-saving, so that they can continue the excellent work that they're doing. I hope that was not a very long-winded answer, but happy to discuss any details.
No, that was actually I do have a question myself. So I think one of the things that we found that is there's a stigma behind mental health in Lebanon, and this is one of the reasons why we launched Heal Beirut in 2020, because patients were affected by the acute stress disorder or PTSD. Now, patient undergoing treatment, you also mentioned the support system is extremely important. I see it in adult patients. I see it in adult patients, and they do have group therapy sessions. They can go with patients to therapy. During your training in Lebanon, did you find those support systems there? Was there an infrastructure to address the mental health components that go in with treating pediatric cancer patients?
So within the Children's Cancer Center at the American University of Beirut, there is and that started right from, again, as I mentioned, the cancer center was formed in collaboration with St. Jude. So right from the start, there was a focus on addressing the psychological needs of children and families who are undergoing therapy. There's an excellent child life team that helps kids and families navigate the difficult decisions and all the adjustments that have to be made during treatment. And that includes everything from navigating, continuing educational involvement, as well as providing emotional support and art therapy and music therapy and so on. The AUB, the American University of Beirut, the Medical Center, has also an excellent child psychology and child psychiatry services, and those are available to children who are undergoing cancer treatment, of course, upon referral or integration. So the services are there. I know that there was some turnover right after the Beirut explosion, the couple of years after that, but I do know that there has been again an increase in the number of faculty rejoining the AUB after that over the past couple of years. So there's great talent, great clinicians, and they're all focused on taking care of kids and families throughout that journey.
Great. Great to hear that. And two more questions. One came in the chat. George, what has it meant to you to personally be a part of not only building, but founding Hope and Heritage Initiative? And what impact have you seen?
Wow. Let me start by saying, I think in a way, Raya had mentioned something before about how the model for St. Jude is quite unique because there's a connectivity of each and every one of us out in the open world and having an opportunity to be part of the story in support and be in the philanthropy of it. In fact, Danny himself said, I'd rather get $1 from a million people than $1 million from one person. And that was in itself the message of this model that we're all part of this family, that we all are part of the human experience, that we are doing something, in addition to enjoying our lives with our families and our friends and our vacations, we're doing something that is giving back, that is sharing in the human experience. So this has been, I think, something that has touched so many people when we created this brand of giving with Hope and Heritage. The connectivity to our heritage, to our ancestral grandparents, our parents, where we came from, to the values that we all share as human beings in this everyday complicated life of confusion and truth seeking. I mean, this is such a wonderful experience. When my wife and I were down in St. Jude for the first time in 2015, Well, we went for the convention of the Southern Federation of Syrian and Lebanese Clubs, which is an amazing organization. 2,000 people of us from all over the country, and they had it in Memphis because they were such a big integral part of this of this founding of St. Jude. And the whole event was connected with the St. Jude campus. I mean, Dick Shadiak at that time, as chairman, was organizing all of these events. We were going back and forth. We were doing tours of the campuses. And we, at one point, Jeanette and I, my wife, were walking between one building and another down a long hallway, and the hallway was lined up with these beautiful portraits of these people. And I said, "My God, look at these people! Some in their 40s and 50s." And I said, "They're all wonderful donors to St. Jude." And we got to the end of the hallway, and my wife said, "Hon, those are not donors." I said, "Well, who are they?" I said, "They're survivors. They were in their 40s and 50s. People that got this beautiful lease on life because of this organization." So to answer your question, I mean, I can only say it very simply. It brings happiness to be involved, and I see the happiness in such a great, beautiful way with even here with Raya and with Jennifer and with Georgina and you and everybody being, we're all volunteering our time and effort here for something that gives us this great, great joy. So that for me has been, I mean, and I think for so many that are on our committee, like you, for example, Mark, who's been such a great, great addition to our committee. We see this, we share this as a family. Uh, as far as impact goes, I mean, I can't begin to tell you the impact we're having. I mean, this is an impact right here. What we're doing with Heal Beirut and your great organization, building awareness about Heal Beirut, about our St. Jude connectivity. And, Raya explained this so wonderfully in terms of how, there is this connectivity. I mean, the AUB Children's Cancer Center in Lebanon originally started as St. Jude's Beirut. Danny Thomas himself wanted to create a St. Jude's in one other location outside of Memphis, and he chose his homeland, his original homeland, his ancestral homeland. And he went to Beirut and he created it there. And now that he morphed into now one of the greatest children's cancer centers in the world, servicing that area, the Children's Cancer Center. And that's created now synergies where we're reaching out to the AUB community to be involved in the Hope and Heritage brand of giving and what we're doing. Um, Recently, a wonderful story. A very good friend of mine reached out and he said, "My God, what's going on with this Hope and Heritage thing?" Turns out he's the owner of the beautiful snowflake at Fifth Avenue and 57th Street that we see every year at Christmas. Well, as a result of that, the impact and that reach, that snowflake has now become officially known as the St. Jude Fifth Avenue Hope and Heritage Snowflake. And it is something that we're going to be elaborating on and growing every year. It's a wonderful thing. We're reaching out to people in Lebanon who want to do things with walks. And here we have our presenting sponsor this year is a gentleman of Lebanese Dominican heritage who is taking on the role as our presenting sponsor. So it's just beautiful to see how the impact is growing and making this wonderful sense of family grow in a wonderful way. And I thank you all. I mean, it's just wonderful. I'm just glad to be part of it, and I'm honored. So I hope that answers the question.
It definitely does, and it shows through your work. Again, thank you so much for your dedication, what you've done for the community here and abroad. Last question. I will, Dr. Allen or Dr. Saab, Kavya put it in the chat. Are there any room for missions or any medical missions in Lebanon that physician assistants and or nurse practitioners are able to join that you are aware of? And how can they contribute their help if not through medical capacity in Lebanon?
We don't have specifically anything for oncology, but I will let Dr. Saab answer.
I'm not aware right now of any specific missions. I think in terms of the type of work that we're currently doing with the global initiative with St. Jude is primarily on partnering with institutions and pediatric oncology networks to provide the training and to translate an infrastructure. So there's a lot of the workforce is primarily from individuals at the local institutions, as well as St. Jude and affiliated consultants. So there's not been specific missions per se, voluntary missions, but there might be things out there within the larger community that maybe Heal Beirut or Elma could, I don't know, may have more thoughts on other networks out there.
Yeah, definitely. Kavya, if you drop your email in the chat, we can follow up with you. And if we hear of anything, we can reach out and kind of connect you to the appropriate mission and or even join us in Lebanon at any point. But drop your email and we'll reach out. I will leave the floor for the panelists if they have any last thoughts. If not, I will close out.
I have one. I realized as we were talking that one thing that I want people to know, if you haven't been to St. Jude, is that the heart of what we're saying here really is about family and community and connection. And the reality is that children who come to St. Jude don't get to leave after a procedure. It is a long time that they are often there getting the care and the follow-up to recover. And it is they and their families that are able to stay together with the housing that's provided, with the opportunities to have places that there is education that happens there for the patients that can be connected to their teachers so they stay on track with what they're learning while they're there. There are places for them to play. There are different types of dining that they can have. They typically move around in Rose red wagons as opposed to a wheelchair. So there really is that idea of trying to keep them feeling like things are not all about the issue that is top of mind for most people when they're dealing with this. And one great example that I have heard is that there was a patient who was there and was really very isolated in their thoughts and not really involved in anything and had no interest in any of the food or much of an appetite. And at some point, one of the people that was working with them asked like what their favorite food was, which wasn't in the cafeteria. And they said that it was their grandmother's macaroni and cheese. And as we know, someone from St. Jude reached out to the parent, got that recipe, and that became what that child got to eat, which they loved. And that is just a small example of how much familyness and attention to a life, not just an issue, that St. Jude provides.
I may add to what Elise just said, ALSAC stands for the American Lebanese Syrian Associated Charities. It was created as the fundraising and awareness arm for St. Jude. That number, by the way, is well over $3 billion that ALSAC raises every year from around the world, from everybody, from all walks of life, all backgrounds. And it's an incredible, incredible blessing from God that we see this happen. I mean, that's a huge number. The thing is that we create awareness by telling people that St. Jude does all this for absolutely free. Everything Elise talked about, everything that you heard from Dr. Raya, from Jennifer, it's all for free. And even to the psychological side that has been touched on as well. It's amazing. I mean, lodging, transportation, therapy, treatment. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I don't know where else this is done that way. And these protocols are shared freely around the world with every other oncology institution that we're even extending to people who are not children anymore, who are grown and are benefiting by this. So this is a miracle, and it's a wonderful thing, and it's a great project, and we're blessed to be part of it. I just wanted to say that, and thank you, Mark, for an amazing webinar, allowing us to grow this awareness more and more every day.
Thankful
Thank you.
for Heal Beirut for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all being here. And I especially want to thank Jenny. Everybody, thank you so much for your time and efforts. But Jenny, your strength and courage is really what keeps us all going. You have multiple organizations here,
Absolutely.
doctors across the US
Absolutely.
working
Thank you
for
so much. Really, I
so
appreciate
really,
that. Thank you for having me, and thank you for every single one of you for contributing to all of this.
thank you so much again. Thank you, Dr. Allen. George, Elise, and Raya. I just want to remind Dr. Saab, sorry, and I just want to remind everybody that 100% of the donations again today go to the St. Jude Hope and Heritage Foundation. We will circulate this video for the next 2 weeks. You can also purchase tickets to the gala. We can send the link after this webinar. It's been an honor to be a part of this and shared effort between not only physicians, patients, and communities in the U.S., in Lebanon, and around the world. And really, again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for your great initiative.
Thank you, everybody.
all.
Thank you,
Good.
Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye all.